Hello, good afternoon. You're listening to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love 99.5 in Kumasi, affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Sun City Radio, Keta, Volta Premiers in Ho, ATL FM, Cape Coast Radio, Mark Stardy, and Reach 104.9 FM in Tamale. We are live on Twitter Spaces, Facebook live stream, and the My Joy interactive app. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience. In this package, growing tension in Nalerigo in the northeast region as youth there sees major roads linking the region to the upper east and northern regions and threaten to unleash violence if any attempt is made to arrest the overlord.
Anybody, not even a foul, will we allow you to arrest.
If government fail to apprehend them, then government should allow them to invade Nalerigo and apprehend the chief. It is the president. If there is any illegality with regards to the enskinment of the Bokuna, it is the president who is perpetrating the illegality.
We are live in the area for the latest. There's a lot unfolding in Parliament as minority there's demanding the immediate reduction of ministers in the Akufo-Addo government from 86 to 65 as they pledge to heed to the directive of the NDC to reject the latest ministerial nominees.
The matter is brought to the full House for a vote to be taken in secret. And I can assure you that we in the NDC stand united with our number of 136 for this expedition.
While the majority side, however, disagrees, they say there's no legal basis for the NDC to take such a position.
A general secretary of a political party cannot sit in his party office and issue a press statement for purpose of political expediency, direct members of parliament to reject the nominees of the president.
Also, later, former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Dufo called for the dissolution of government's economic management team, insisting its members cannot be trusted to follow through with Ghana's economic recovery.
That no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created the problem.
We have more from Dr. Dufo, who is also asking that the domestic debt exchange program be properly laid before Parliament for consideration. We also have sports coming up.
Yes, various football leagues mourn the tragic demise of Christian Achu.
And we're all in that mood, but we'll bring you the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM and affiliates across the country. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. My name is Blessed Sogah, and this afternoon there's rising tension in Nalerigo in the northeast region. The youth there have blocked a major road linking the region to the upper east and northern regions and threatening to unleash violence if any attempt is made to arrest the Mamprogo overlord. The youth laid siege at the police station in the area, vandalizing anything on sight following a failed military operation last night to arrest the king and a man he enskinned as the Bokunaba.
You cannot arrest him on that accord. Then they said, we should wait for them to come. When they come, we will hear. We thought it was a joke because it has never happened and it can't happen. We won't allow it. You can come from heaven, you can come from wherever. We will not allow you to arrest anybody. Not even a foul will we allow you to arrest. So we decided that we will come out in our numbers and resist any attempt that is going to cause the arrest of a fly, talk less of the newly enskinned Bokunaba or the Nayuri. We are not going to accept it.
What I'm holding in my hand is an empty cartridge of the firing shots that they shot at into the air. This is an example of what they came and did. And this is what we are agitating and we are angry against. You cannot come and fire warning shots or whatever shots without any cause.
The Kusasis in their press that if the military fail, if government fail to apprehend them, then government should allow them to invade Nalerigo and apprehend the chief. And then we can tell you that these were Kusasi bandits in military uniform, given military vehicles to invade the premises of the overlord. So we are telling them, it is the president. If there is any illegality with regards to the enskinment of the Bokuna, it is the president who is perpetrating the illegality.
Well, so that's the situation up north. Let's get more from our northeast regional correspondent, Ilyasu Tanko, who's joining us with more. Ilyasu, tell us what the situation is currently as we speak.
So, Blessed, there appears to be a spontaneous reaction across Mamprogo traditional area. As we speak, while the youth of Nalirgo are taking some at the forecourt of the overlord, the youth of Wale Wale are onto the street. They are burning ties and blocking all major roads in response to the military action last night.
And how are commuters actually managing the major roads that have been blocked?
Well, the police are struggling to deal with the situation, especially that of Wanwale, because the youth have actually blocked the main Tamale-Bolaga highway, which is a busy transportation corridor. So we understand the police are about to deploy, but really the youth are burning ties, and it's very difficult for the police to control the situation. But a few police are currently trying to open up the traffic and allow the free flow of vehicular movement.
And let's talk about the authorities, the Regional Security Council, for instance. How are they managing the situation, trying as much as possible to bring it under control?
Well, the Regional Security Council has not been doing enough in this particular situation since the incident on Wednesday 15th. The Security Council only held a meeting in respect of the directive given by government to arrest anybody who calls himself as the chief of MOFO. And since then, there have not been any public statements, nor any comments from the Regional Security Council.
Well, that's our Northeast Regional correspondent, Ilyasu Tanko, giving us the latest on the Boko incident. We can also listen to Festus Kennel, retired Festus Abuaji, who's been sharing his thoughts on this matter.
But it's not too late. And I think that the prospects are also very, very difficult. It's not late to try and get the parties to de-escalate, to roll back a bit. For instance, I would not support the idea of arresting Alhaji Seidu Abagri. I wouldn't subscribe to that. But I think the government can use other mechanisms to get the Nairi to withdraw that event, and put it on hold until such time that other approaches are.
Colonel retired Festus Abuaji. Back here in the capital, another showdown is looming in Parliament as the NDC minority is vowing to reject the latest ministerial appointments made by President Akufo-Addo. Today, ministers designate for Greek trade and industry, amongst others, are set to be vetted by the Appointments Committee. Yesterday, the NDC, in a statement, urged its caucus to reject the latest nominations. Addressing journalists in Parliament, Minority Leader Dr. Kesela Toforson indicated that their side will be carrying through this directive from their party.
We in the minority wish to state it clear that we will remain committed to ensuring greater scrutiny and will spare no effort to proceed to protect the public purse. In line with this, we are taking part in the vetting processes so that at the very minimum, we can scrutinize the president's decision in bringing up these nominees. Again, the minority will not subscribe to a consensus vote at the level of the Appointment Committee. This will ensure that the matter is brought to the full House for a vote to be taken in secret. And I can assure you that we in the NDC stand united with our number of 136 for this expedition. We are calling on the following. 1, immediate reduction in the numbers of ministers from the current level of 86 to 65.
Minority Leader Dr. Kesela Toforson, Kweku Asante, our parliamentary correspondent, is joining me for the latest on this. And Kweku will also know that the minority is making some more demands. For instance, they are asking for a number of portfolios to be scrapped. Tell us more about that.
So, Blessed, they've specifically mentioned some offices that exist at the Jubilee House, and they are asking President Akufo-Addo to take them out. They are describing them as amorphous, and this is a full package of their fight against Akufo-Addo's government.
We also demand an immediate scrapping of all amorphous creations and waste pipes. Job for the boys. Appointment since the assumption of the office of the president in 2017. The work of these undefined amorphous creations must revert to established entities in the civil and public services that perform similar, if not the same functions. Some of these bizarre portfolios at the Office of the President includes the following. 1. Youth Ambassador at the Diaspora Affairs. 2. Policy Associate. 3. Chief Executive of Public Sector Reforms. 4. Overseer of National Cathedral. 5. Church Relations Manager. 6. Diaspora Church Mobilization Officer. 7. Policy and Coordinator Analyst. 8. Focal Person, La Francophone. Focal Person, La Francophonie. 9. Technical Director, La Francophonie. 10. Coordinator, Special Development Initiative Secretariat. 11. Director of Special Projects. 12. Manager of Operations and Programs.
Well, Kweku, interesting portfolios there, but there's a big challenge about the specific ministries being vetted today, the nominees I'm talking about. What's the proposal from the minority in terms of dealing with these ministries? The Trades, Agrics ministry, for instance, which do not have substantive ministers.
So we know that these specific ministries have been reappointed in terms of the personality because of the resignation of Alan Martin and a number of people. They say that instead of the president appointing new persons, he could shuffle some of his ministers to go into some of those offices and cut back on some of the ministries. They say, for instance, the transport ministry can be merged with railways. They do not understand why railways should be a standalone ministry. So the president should reshuffle his ministries and the minister to take over some of these new offices instead of appointing new personalities.
But the majority disagrees, correct?
Indeed, the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, says who qualifies to be a minister or not does not lie in the mouth of the NDC, but that the Constitution specifically spells out that.
A general secretary of a political party cannot sit in his party office and issue a press statement for purpose of political expediency, direct members of parliament to reject the nominees of the president. It's a sign of disrespect to parliament, a sign of disrespect to the speaker, and clearly what the NDC is telling Ghanaians is that they don't respect the constitution and that the new leadership they just announced is not a type of leadership with ability to respect the constitution, that they have no thinking caps. They themselves would be acting on the dictates of the party headquarters.
Well, so that's the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin. And Kweku, even as we speak, we know that the sitting is already underway. We've seen, for instance, Katie Hammond appear before that committee. But there seems to be a change in the composition of this appointments committee in Parliament doing the vetting today. What do we have on that?
Indeed, that change of the minority front bench came with a change in some leadership. We have been accustomed for the last 6 years of seeing Haruna Idrisu, Muntaka Mubarak on the appointment committee. They are no longer there. The new minority leader, Dr. Atoforsen, has taken over Haruna Idrisu's position. Kwame Agboja has also taken over Muntaka's position on that committee. So the leadership has shifted a while, and Haruna Idrisu and Muntaka Mubarak have now been phased out because of that change in the minority leadership.
And how about Katie Hammond himself?
Indeed, Katie Hammond has been responding to questions. When he started, he said that he is expecting that the committee members will be of good behavior because he's the senior prefect in the House. There was a point where he clashed with Bahama Yarga and the minority chief whip. They thought that he was not taking the committee serious. But so far, he's been answering questions on import substitution and what he will be doing if he's giving the note as minister, although he's aware that the minority are threatening to block his approval.
And fallouts from that vetting will be on our subsequent bulletins. But we're grateful. Kweku Asante, our parliamentary correspondent, joining us with the latest. Let's stay on the economy. Former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Dufour says government economic management team should be dissolved and reconstituted. The team led by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, with Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta as a member, takes crucial decisions on how the Ghanaian economy should be managed. Listen to former Senior Minister Yao Safo-Mafo in 2019 touch on how the team was crucial in managing the economy under the leadership of the Vice President.
I would want all of us here, and on behalf of my colleagues, say a very big thank you, the type of leadership the EMT has enjoyed from Dr. Bawumia. A chairman who is so involved in the work of he works like a member, like a secretary. It's sterling quality, professionally excellent. So we are where we are because Dr. Bawumia is putting up a very professional chairmanship to the EMT. And I pray that we continue to work together as a team.
Well, so that's former Senior Minister Yao Safo-Mafo back in 2019. Well, for today, Dr. Dufour says government's handling of the recently concluded domestic debt exchange is an evidence of the need for new hands to manage affairs.
For 8 years, as a nation, we borrowed over $15 billion. That's a huge money. If it had gone into projects which could pay or repay for themselves, would I be in a better position now? How was the money used? So the former Chief Justice has a point.
Are you surprised Ken Ofori-Atta is still at the Finance Ministry?
Well, we're told that he's managing the IMF program.
I mean, do you think he should have been asked to step aside and replaced with someone else?
It's been said by a very wise man years ago that no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created the problem.
So we need a new consciousness. He should go.
New yes. A team, not only him. I think the management team.
As in the economic management team?
I think so. Because see, the other ones who, including the finance minister, who created the problem, can they solve the problem? Especially when I hear some of them say that, oh, by the fact that we have been kicked out of the international market, we have gone to borrow $3 billion, $2 billion. It means the same level of consciousness that created the problem. Hasn't seen the problem yet. They haven't seen that we have a problem. They haven't seen it.
Well, the former finance minister also wants the domestic debt exchange program laid in Parliament for consideration.
The Parliament is the keeper of the public purse. You know that? That's why when the finance minister goes to Parliament to present the budget, he says, I'm here to do this. And in the end, he'll be asking for approval. They can say, no, take it back. They have that power. Or they say, cut this budget size because it's too much for the economy. They have that power. They are the people's reps. They can say no to the budget. You understand? So what they're asking for is correct. That's their job.
Well, so that's the former finance minister, Dr. Kwabena Dufour. This afternoon, Ghana's air quality has been ranked as one of the worst worldwide as monitors record an uptick in the concentration of fine particles in the atmosphere. For almost 5 days, the weather and atmosphere has become hazy, making breathing and visibility difficult. Health experts say the particles are able to travel deeply into the respiratory tract, reaching the lungs. Exposure to the fine particles can cause short-term health effects such as eye, nose, throat and lung irritation, coughing, sneezing, runny nose and shortness of breath. Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, is joining us with the latest on that. And Fred, you've been following this latest development. What is the data telling us?
Well, Blessed, the air quality in Accra is said to be unhealthy with a ranking index of 183. Currently, we're in second position globally, next to Lahore in Pakistan, which has 198 on the index. The particular matter concentration in Accra is currently 23.6 times the WHO annual air quality guideline value, and the conditions in the last 2 days were considered hazardous, peaking at an index of 374 at 10 a.m. yesterday.
And we understand that the Meteo Agency has a warning on this.
Yes, indeed. The Meteo's forecast for today shows the hazy and dry dust conditions across the country, and it's supposed to persist throughout the day.
So what are experts telling us in terms of how we can minimize the impact?
Well, they're saying we should wear our face masks, we should avoid outdoor activities or limit or reduce outdoor activities, and also ensure that if we are indoors and have air purifiers, we should use them.
Well, I'm grateful, Fred Smith with our health desk joining us for the latest on this. Well, a while ago, there's been a news conference by the EPA, the Ghana Health Service, and the Medical Association as well. I want to get more from my colleague Michael Ashale, who's joining us there. Michael, what are some of the indicators we're getting from this group of, associations and regulatory agencies?
Agency, together with the Environmental Protection Agency, together what they are presenting to us is that the numbers that we have now are very, very high compared to what we were recording last year. However, EPA was quick to add that a major part of the indications that I get from the pollutants is because of our own contributions to it, because of our emissions from some of our vehicles, and then the continuous burning of tire. But from the side of the Ghana Medical Association and the Ghana Health Service, what we are told is that those who have, there's a higher risk of contracting respiratory-related illnesses. So people should rather go by what we've already heard, that you wear your nose mask and avoid going outdoor if you can.
We do indiscriminate burning. We have heavy vehicular emissions. We have dust pollution all around. Yes, of course, we've cut all trees that are intervening. Trees that are providing oxygen and sometimes as a buffer against dust particles. So this, together with water vapor, which is coming from the sea breeze, combine to form this heavy haze. And it's very, very unhealthy for us.
A press conference there by the EPA and the Ghana Medical Association. Will bring you updates later. You're listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM and affiliates across the country. Our top story, former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Dufo calls for dissolution of government's economic management team, insisting its members cannot be trusted following through with Ghana's economic recovery. But still to come, tributes continue to pour in for the late senior national team member, Christian Achu.
Allah Almighty knows best, but I think Christian doesn't deserve this.
That from him we came, and to him shall we return.
And strengthen our faith in this difficult time.
And thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News. Time now for sports.
Yes, over the weekend it's about Achu following the sad story that we received on Saturday. But, various leagues across the globe showed their respect by starting with the Ghana Premier League where 8 matches were played. And in all those games, they observed a 1-minute silence for the demise of Christian Achu. Now, this also happened in other GFA competitions like the National Division 1 League and the Women's FA Cup. In England, a minute of applause was observed at all Premier League venues with his former clubs, Newcastle United, Chelsea, Everton, and then Bournemouth leading the charge. Now, some Ghanaian players plying their trade abroad or in Europe, to be specific, also paid their tribute to the departed footballer. You talk about Ajax star Mohamed Kudus, who wrote R.I.P. Achu on his on the undershirt of his jersey and displayed the message after scoring a wonderful free kick in Ajax's 4-0 win over Sparta Rotterdam. Now, Jordan, are you at Crystal Palace and Ludogorets Bernard Tepete? They all did same.
And I'm grateful, Mubarak, for bringing us the latest in sports. In fact, for many of us, it was a moment of pain and reflection as the body of the man we're talking about, the deceased Ghana football star Christian Achu Trasam, was received by the family and the government delegation led by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Here are sounds from the event you may have missed.
Noe Christian Allah Almighty know the best, but I think Christian doesn't deserve this.
Since this thing happened to today, we are grateful. We are saying, we thank you, we thank you, we thank you.
Many are sharing testimonies about how he supported and helped them.
That from him we came, and to him shall we return. We pray that the soul of Christian Achu rests in perfect peace in the bosom of the Lord.
Wipe away the tears of our eyes and strengthen our faith in this difficult time.
And we say rest in peace, Christian Achu. Well, the Ministry of Education has indicated that the automatic computerized school selection and placement system has so far posted over 60% of the students to various senior high schools across the country. It has, however, taken note of the placement issues raised by parents with the system and assures that all of them will be addressed appropriately. Spokesperson for the Education Ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng, gave the assurance on the Super Morning Show. Before we hear from him, here are some parents expressing their frustrations about the placement system.
There's a grading system. We know that from 6 to 9, you get your first class school or A school. Then from the 10 to I think about 16 or so, you have your grade B school. That is what has been given to her. So if my child has gotten 9, she deserves to have her the A school.
She get Mountain at Mountains, so I'm trying to change to her to another school called Methodist over there at Mountains too. Because the one they choose for her, it was not good for her. She get 20. At least they're supposed to put her in a nice one, not to put in the one that is not good.
My ward was placed in a STEM school. Meanwhile, the grade was 8. She wants to do pure science and not STEM. We have selected 6 schools, and the grade falls within the category of the first, second. We have already selected the schools. The schools are on the forms. She wasn't given the first, second, nor the third.
Well, some parents there. We can now hear from the spokesperson for the Education Ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng, assuring parents of fixing the challenges.
This year, for instance, the system was able to place about 69.24% through the automatic placement. And so what essentially it means is that the remaining who were unable to match any of their schools, the system will not impose a school on them, because there are a lot of factors that goes into making a determination into which school you go. Some may want to have association with certain schools. Some may want to get closer to family and other variables that contribute. So what we do is to give you an opportunity to go and select a school. When you miss your first choice, the system obviously will consider you for your second choice. But remember, at every point, your second choice is also somebody's first choice. Mm-hmm. And so it is possible that by the time the system brings you your second choice, it may be full.
Spokesperson for the Ministry of Education, Kwesi Kwarteng, the Ghana Education Service says it will make a conscious effort to educate on the grading and placement system to avoid future challenges. Cassandra Chumampofo speaks for GES.
If parents would allow their wards to attend the schools that they've gotten, it would solve the problem. We allow them to choose 6 schools. On merit, you can fall into any of the 6 chosen schools. But hey, if it's not the first choice, then no school. That is the problem. So we should come to a point where we will all agree that out of the 900 plus senior high schools that we have, if I choose 6 out of them and I get into any of them, I should accept. Of course, we have all our qualified teachers in there. We pray and hope that a time would come that parents would also come to the realization, our students would, that we have qualified teachers across in all our senior high schools, and so when you get them, then you just accept it.
And that's Cassandra Chumampofo. She speaks for the Ghana Education Service. And that's all we have for you here on the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra and Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Some of the stories we have there for you: soldiers clash with Nalerigo youth in an attempt to arrest illegally and skin Boko Naba and Mamprogu overlord. We also do have the live stream of the vetting of President Akufo-Addo's new ministerial nominees underway. You might want to check that out at myjoyonline.com. I am Blessed Sogah. Next is Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil. Thanks for your time.
Hey guys, so I got this app. It's called Ayoba. It's a chat app that helps me with beauty tips and cooking tips. A super app that feeds me music and the latest